Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So, taking out a fun and exciting episode for you guys this evening, because we are playing the recently released, as of yesterday, Demo 2 for Super Mario Bros. CD from the Famicom CD team. I did a video on this maybe 4 or 5 months ago when the first demo came out and said it was absolutely one of my favorite fan projects of 2024, even if it was just a 2-level demo, but now everything has progressed and you're going to be able to play 5 levels in this new build of Super Mario Bros. CD. And to say this thing looks completely similar and completely different at the same time would be an understatement. It's like Bizarro World Super Mario Bros. Where you have all of those iconic characters and different enemies, but it feels like a completely different universe at the same time. Before we get to fire involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, you got a Patreon link down below as well. And recently I've been talking a lot about Cosam the Great new Super Nintendo CD recreation project, and if there was ever going to be a launch title that worked with that Red Book audio on that system, this would definitely be my candidate, because you're going to get the entire MSU1 implementation here, getting PCM audio and a soundtrack that is nothing like you've ever heard in a Mario game before in all the best ways, and trust me, you're going to be getting a lot of soundtrack samples. So there are 3 new levels on offer here, and the 2 levels that we played in the previous demo have been expanded upon with new enemies and new placements, but I'm going through the first 3 new levels quickly here, and it is so much fun to see the different colorways and different shading techniques here to give each and every level its own distinct visual flair, although I definitely jumped straight into that Goomba. That was my fault, I had to capture this before I had finished my coffee. So Mario's going to have a little bit shorter of a reaction time than he normally would just because of that coffee issue, but honestly going through some of the new levels here, I absolutely love what they've done with the color profiles and overall vibe. You have this deep rust fall thing going on here with some new enemies as well, and a lot of awesome parallax scrolling. It's somehow Super Mario Bros. 3 on the original NES combined together with the power of the Super Nintendo and some elements of Super Mario World, just basically combining to be a game that feels, like I said, very familiar and completely distinct at the same time. If this had come out back in the day, I definitely think it would have been a hit, but of course again, do remember this is just still a demo, but it's got Yoshi in it, so you can't complain about that, although I am going to be an idiot and lose him in about 5 seconds. But I love fan projects like this. It's basically reimagining what Super Mario Bros. Can be, especially if you had the Super Nintendo CD attachment back in the day, had that actually released at retail. You have all of the power of the Super Nintendo, but then you have all of those MSU1 enhancements at the same time. And the best part is I played this on MiSTer FPGA, you can play it on software emulation, and if you have the right flash cartridge that works with MSU1, you'll be able to play it on real Super Nintendo or Super Famicom hardware as well. But honestly, the soundtrack in this thing is just spectacular in my opinion. There's going to be 3 different soundtrack samples in this video because that is a lot of the draw what's going on here. So go ahead and listen for like 35 seconds and I'll come back and show you more new levels and why Super Mario Bros. CD is shaping up to be an awesome release for 2025. But enjoy! I just absolutely love the jazzy nature of the music, and if I had to compare it closely to any sort of genre, at least in my memory, it would be something like Japanese city pop from the 80s. It just has that kind of vibe to it, this otherworldly jazz environment, and definitely some of the later tracks are going to give me a little bit of vibes of 80s action cop movies as well, which is a really weird inspiration for something like Super Mario Bros., but it 100% works here. As we move into the underground area, another new level, I love these gems. I love how they're punctuated with this deep red and purple in the background when you have all of these blues and blacks basically in the foreground. It really does allow for this thing to have a great sense of depth. You have 3 different parallax layers going on in the background as those all scroll by with the punctuations of color in there. You really do get this sense of scale that cavern is almost infinite in the back. And I will say all of the platforms, all of the enemies are really well placed. And I think this thing, when it is done, is going to be a speedrunner's dream as far as just trying to get all of the jumps down. Because in the previous demo there was a speedrunning mode as well, so you could kind of count up just to see how long it would take you to get through a level, and I would say as I played around with that, it was basically something that if you practice and learn, you get good at very quickly. But again, I told you it's going to be a soundtrack sample heavy video, and this is probably my favorite track of all of the new ones that I've heard in the game so far. And again, it sounds like Super Mario Bros., but in a completely different way, in some sort of bizarre alternate universe. But enjoy, because again, this is one of my favorite tracks I've heard in a while, and here it comes. I just love the soundtrack sample there because it sounds like a mix of both Police Knots by Kojima as well as the soundtrack from something like Lethal Weapon in a Super Mario Bros. Game. That might not make much sense, but trust me, in the context of playing it, it's 100% just there for you. You also get a new title sequence as well as this level selection here. Like I said, 3 of the 5 levels are going to be new, and the other 2 are going to have changes from their original versions that we demoed back in 2024. But as we move on to this beach stage here, I just absolutely love the vibe. It looks like classic Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario World, but the colors are different, Mario sprite's different. It kind of feels like a Bizarro Land version of itself. If this had been some lost Japanese game that no one really knew existed, or somebody had said they had found a prototype of a Nintendo game that Nintendo never released, and you played this, you would definitely think that makes 100% perfect sense, because it feels like a Super Mario Brothers game, it plays like one, but it just has the music, the vibes, and the graphics of something you've never seen before. And for a franchise as old and as storied as something like Mario, that's definitely always fun to play, and I love advocating and giving spotlights to these fan projects on the channel because they do stuff that is just so much fun, and they do it just because it's a love letter to something they enjoy, because it's not like there's any money changing hands here. The developers are just doing this in their spare time to give fans something new to check out, and that's always something I appreciate. And I will definitely be following along with this more as the development process goes forward in 2025. I hope this thing has like 20 levels when it's done, a full story, and so much more of the incredible music, because again, it is just the vibiest soundtrack I've ever heard in a Mario game, outside of maybe something like Super Mario Sunshine, even though that's a completely different look and feel. But I'm going to do one more soundtrack sample because again, I just can't get over how good the music in this game truly is. 35 seconds, I'll come back and show you the last level. Again, if that's just not 80s Japanese city pop, I don't know what it is. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what genre of music you think that is, and tell me what your overall impression of the music is. I'm sure that for a few people it's not really going to be to their liking because it is so completely different than anything you've ever had in a Super Mario Bros. Game before, but that really is what I appreciate about the soundtrack. They're not trying to recreate the sound of something like Super Mario Bros. Or Super Mario World. They're trying to recreate the vibe with a completely different soundtrack, and even though it's all tracks you've never heard before, they just seem to work here in the context of the game. These crabs coming out of the ground, the throwable fruit, all of the background parallax, everything here just looks absolutely stunning. It just looks like something between like an 8-bit NES and a 16-bit Super Nintendo as far as the graphics kind of strike me. But it is one of those things. Art style definitely makes or breaks a game, and I think the art style on offer here in Super Mario Bros. CD definitely is making this that much better. With the music, with the new levels, with the other all familiar yet completely different feel, this thing just 100% hits. And again, I can't wait to see what else the developers come up with, because we now have Yoshi in the game, we have 3 new levels to play around with, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. Maybe it'll be done by the end of the year, maybe it won't be done till 2026, I really have no idea, but again, I will definitely update you next time something happens. And again, there is a link in the description below for you to be able to grab these patches and the soundtrack and put together your own version, and you can play it however you want. The only wrong way to play Super Mario Bros. CD is not to check it out, because it is one of my favorite Mario ROM hacks I've seen in a very long time, and I've definitely covered some on the channel. It's just so much fun to get a new 2D Mario game in that classic style, because it's not like Nintendo gives us all of those all the time. Super Mario Bros. Wonder was fun, but it felt completely different, and maybe not in all of the best ways. But definitely check this one out. Like I said, I tested on a MiSTer FPGA, on software emulation, and on real Super Nintendo hardware, and it works across all 3. So play it this weekend, check it out, and leave me a comment down below after you play it and tell me what you think, because I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy this one. And hopefully they add another speedrun demo mode soon as well, so we can kind of play around with that. But we're done. Happy Saturday. Hope you enjoyed the bonus video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.